what you doing?
Hey, it's mid-January, so I decided it was time to put away the Halloween decorations.
Oh, good. Proud of you.
Thanks.
I know it's hard for you.
It is. Could you hand me Jerry?
Oh, Jerry, yes. Ah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm trying to consolidate everything in one place.
Well, then, I do have some concerns.
Really?
They involve Francis.
What's wrong with Francis?
I've noticed that he's a little bit more scary now after Halloween than during Halloween.
Okay, I can see that. Maybe I need to not store him with the gardening supplies.
Yeah, that and all the plant supplies as well, along with all the cleaning supplies. Might send the wrong message.
Okay, gotcha. He needs to find another area of the garage to live in.
That would be very wise.
Okay, don't want to scare the neighbors.
Or the kids, or the dogs come in and doing their business on them. Either that, either.
No, okay. Good feedback. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes, Francis. You'll be good. Jerry.
Hello, my witches and wizards. This is Professor Rowan. I'm coming to you today to talk about, what Wizards Unite got right, what Wizards Unite got wrong, and what they have to make sure they get right when they do Hogwarts Legacy. First off, before we get into the whys and wherefores, I need to give you my pedigree to let you understand that I know what I'm talking about. First off, I love games. All kinds of games, and I consider myself a connoisseur. I kind of collect them. Well, not just me, also my life mate and our roommate. So we have quite a lot of games in this house. And I'm not just talking physical games, I'm also talking digital. However, by far, my favorite kind of game is a cooperative game as opposed to a competitive game. And my favorite version of cooperative games are role-playing games. Now, not all role-play games need to have minifigs and a detailed plot like Mice and Mystics, nor do they need to have a deep, thick rule book like Dungeons and Dragons, which can take up entire shelves. And nor do they need to come on multiple discs and potentially ruin my ability to keep a job because I'm playing them for 80 hours straight. But I've been doing these since, before this came out the first time. So I have a bit of an idea what I'm talking about when I talk about role-playing games. With that said, I'd like to talk about some of the things that Wizards Unite got right. First off, whoever their animator is, they deserve a reward. The animations were beautiful. We're talking Mio no Kuni level beautiful, at least in my opinion. Between Bellatrix Lestrange's movements being so fluid and realistic, to the Flogelworm's Foley work, they did a top-notch job on really immersing you into the world, which is vitally important for a good RPG. If you can't believe you're there, you can't, suspend your disbelief and truly enjoy the experience. They also, for the most part, had a decent story. There were lots of different threads that you were able to follow. There was lots of little hints of things. There was debating about who is sus and who is not sus. Constance was always a little sus. It didn't spoon feed you what was going on, so that was also very helpful. But there was one major way that RPGs like Fill My Heart with Joy that Wizards Unite failed on. Now I'm coming to you from my tabletop RPG shelf. These aren't the bottom shelves of the bookcase because they're less used. They're the bottom shelf because they're heavy. In Honor Roll, How to Level Up Your RPG, they specifically talk about the concept of winning an RPG. A lot of people go into an RPG with the competitive as opposed to the cooperative mindset. And that needs to not be your focus when you're dealing in an RPG. Specifically, in order to win an RPG, this author argues, you need to make sure that you are cooperating with each other, that you are working towards a goal together, and that mainly, most importantly, you are having fun. Even if that fun is, oh yay, my character got killed a really horribly graphic way, that was so cool, that's still fun and still winning. The other point that I want to make that comes from these books before we get into my issue, and well, this is my documentation, is Fate Core, one of my favorite RPGs. Because like GURPS, you can do anything with this. But on the very first page, in the basics section, it states, this works best with any premise where the characters are proactive, capable people leading dramatic lives. This was my problem with Wizards Unite. I loved Wizards Unite. Do not get me wrong. If I hadn't loved Wizards Unite, I wouldn't have dedicated 2 or more years of my life to it. So trust me when I say I loved that game. But loving something also means being able to acknowledge its faults. And when it comes to being capable, proactive people, making agency, having agency over their world and making positive results, Wizards Unite failed. So I'm going to look at these, in my opinion, in order of importance. First off, this needs to be cooperative with the characters leading dramatic lives. We had a lot of drama in the years that Wizards Unite was with us. But that drama was outside of Wizards Unite, for the most part. Lots of drama, not in the game. Which actually was a positive for me because it was a nice, calm place to go when the rest of the world was going insane. With that being said, the only part of that was cooperative was the fortresses. Everything else you had to do by yourself. But it wasn't always that way. In the beginning, you were working with Hermione Granger and Constance Pickering in the SOS Task Force tasks, working towards finding out what was causing the calamity, working towards defeating the calamity. This is when you had to do things like collect troll bogies and defeat a certain number of doxies because you were trying to collect data about the calamity. This was still cooperative and dramatic because you were working on tasks with the goal of being able to help the calamity, and you were working on them with NPCs, Hermione and Constance, and sometimes Harry. The first brilliant events, also, those events were cooperative because you were helping other NPCs. You were helping Hagrid with the issue of the magical creatures on the loose. You were helping McGonagall face her past demons. These were all cooperative, even though they weren't in-person real-life cooperative, because you were cooperating with NPCs to accomplish their goals. However, all of those were done by the first year. Once you finished the SOS tasks, you no longer were working towards that goal of defeating the calamity with anyone else. You were working on it by yourself. Unless you were in a fortress working on something that way, and then you were working with other people if you were able to find them before the night bus, and even after the night bus if you were able to find your friends. It was complicated to be cooperative. The second point, you had to be capable people. Now, this is understanding that with leveling up, you go from being not capable at all to being totally capable. And that Wizards Unite did okay for the most part. It's just that it was very narrow in the ways that you were able to grow and become more capable. Now, the SOS trainings that we got in the last year, those were very helpful in expanding our abilities. But by the time that came out, we'd already lost a lot of people because they were no longer capable of growing. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be able to level up till infinity. Leveling up to level 60 is fine, having a level cap so that, and then a year or two later increasing it by 10. Something like that is okay. And I liked that they didn't have your level attached to your leveling up because you leveled up in your professions, but I didn't feel like I had the opportunity to be as capable of a person as I wanted to be. There was a limit in growth, and once I hit that, it was the same. And finally, and most importantly, being proactive. The way that we interacted with the world in Wizards Unite needed to be important. Otherwise, it's just a railroad plot. And that's what we got, was a railroad plot. And the part that really irritates me is that it was a railroad plot that was spoon-fed to you by completing time-sensitive tasks. If we had anyone who joined Wizards Unite after the Brilliant events started giving us the plot, they were no longer able to follow the plot, which makes it so that you have to have someone else explain to you what's going on in order to be able to enjoy the game. It was a huge hurdle for new players. And if you're going to have a game that has the staying power of one of the Final Fantasy games, for example, you need to be able to start anywhere and enjoy at any time. If we had someone who wanted to join us in December of last year, they had to be able to do the SOS tasks and maybe do something else, and once they hit a particular level or some understanding, it would unlock something else and the plot would go on. And I understand that you can't release the plot all at once for everyone because the people who started in the beginning and powered through are going to get bored. But at the same point, you can't just have it month determinate. It's not fair to the people who had to take a month off because they were sick. It's not fair to the people who didn't even hear about Wizards Unite until after it had started. It's not fair to the people who found out about it until after the first fan festival. Because let's be honest, the fan festival is partially what's the word I'm looking for? Marketing thing to let people know that we exist. And by that point, it was already that plot was being delivered in Brilliant events. So, all the people who saw everyone having a wonderful time at FanFest and was like, ooh, I want to join this. Looks like dragons are a new thing. That's awesome. I wonder what other new things they're going to have. They were already missing plot. And I don't know about other people. I can't speak for everyone. But I'm sure you can tell from my collection of game likes. My game likes, my book likes, my everything likes. I like too many things. All of my fandoms, plot is important to me. I have stopped reading book series because the author lost the plot. I have read book series to death even though they've never been finished because I loved the plot in the first 2 books. I'm looking at you, Name of the Wind. So this brings me to Hogwarts Legacy. This is what Legacy has to get right. The world already looks beautiful from the screenshots and the trailers that we've been able to see. Chef's kiss. Lovely. We haven't seen much in, as far as I'm aware, in the world of gameplay. I don't know how your character is going to level up. I don't know what the plot's going to be at all. And I'm okay with that because I like that to be released to me slowly. I actually am a person who don't like spoilers. But with all that said, no matter how wonderful they are at suspending disbelief, in order to get people to play and replay, which is honestly where companies get their money, that's going to need to be a good plot where people have agency and proactive agency. I replay my RPGs over and over and over because I want to see what different builds will do. What happens if I play this game as a wizard this time instead of as a fighter? What happens if I go into a boss fight with a different selection of characters? What happens if I level this gentleman up in this direction instead of that direction? Taking more of a active as opposed to passives. All of the choices in a skill tree. I don't want to be able to purchase every single thing in the skill tree. I want to have to make choices so that it changes things. And I want those changes to matter. I guarantee, play Legacy through from beginning to end. But whether or not I start over at the beginning and go again is entirely dependent on how they treat it. So, my witches and wizards, there you have it. The thing most important for Legacy to get right, in my opinion. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, share. It really does help us out. Thank you also to our patrons, because you guys continue to help make all of the crazy in my life possible. If you would like to support us either by becoming a patron or by purchasing us a jittery beverage, the links for those are in the description below. Now that Wizards Unite is over, I'm struggling a little bit on how to reward my patrons. So, if you have any ideas on things that might be cool to have as patron rewards, please also put that in the description below. Besides these head-talking videos and the scripted videos that we're doing, I also stream 3 times a week now. Mondays, we have our stream where it is gameplay. Thursdays, we have the Itty Bitty Kitty Committee on Balsamic Games. And on Fridays, I read fanfic. So, if you're interested in those are on Twitch, and my schedule is listed on my Twitch channel, which is also in the description below. Now, if you'll excuse me, I hear Diablo calling my name, and I haven't beaten it yet as a barbarian, so I've got to give that a try. And in all of this, please remember to stay safe. So keep your eyes peeled, your ears open, and your wands ready.